Academy. We are talking about our 20 favorite movies of all time, and this is my number 19, which is The Great Escape.
Do you want me to do some quick stuff about it?
Go ahead.
All right, so Great Escape came out in 1963, directed by John Sturges, starring Steve McQueen, James Garner, Sir Richard Attenborough, although he wasn't Sir Richard then, James McDonald, Charles Bronson, Donald Pleasance, James Coburn, Heinz Mesmer, David McCullum, Jordan Jackson, John Layton, and Angus Lenny. It was nominated for an Academy Award for film editing and did not win.
So The Great Escape, why is it one of my favorite movies? And so there's a couple of things, why is it my favorite personally, and then why I think it's a good movie.
Okay.
So first of all, why is it among my favorite movies? I love a good heist movie, I love a good buddy movie, I love a world, like World War II movies. I actually really enjoy a lot of those movies. And also I just love a movie where there's a lot of good, strong characters, and I think that this had all of those things. I'm going to pause for a second before I tell you all of my good things. You had not seen this before?
No, I've seen The Great Escape.
Okay.
My stepfather was a very big Western in World War II.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so what are your thoughts on having rewatched Great Escape?
I will be honest with you.
Okay.
It was not as good as I remembered it being.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been 20 years probably since
Yeah.
I've seen it, and I remember just absolutely loving it. I, like you, love a good heist movie. I love
Yep.
good, strong characters. Fully admit that each of these characters are fleshed out.
Yep.
You get to know each of them and their almost their motivations for why they're doing everything. So they're incredibly well fleshed out, even though comparatively they just don't get a lot of screen time because there's so many people. So I absolutely enjoyed it. I just did not enjoy it as much.
Yeah, I look at it on a couple of different levels. So the first level is just truly the fun movie of, even though the stakes are obviously very high and the setting is very high, at the end of the day, it's a heist movie. It's guys trying to kind of get away with something. And so I thought the plot itself was amazing. All of the different pieces they had,
Sure.
and they had a different person in charge of everything. And I felt like the pacing of it was going from the tunnel to them doing all of the documentation, and then they were talking about the clothes. And so all of the different pieces of the plot were happening, and you were seeing all of that while you were learning a little bit about each character.
Yep.
So along the way, again, every single character. It was billed as a Steve McQueen vehicle, and I don't think he was the star.
No.
He is absolutely, first of all, he's in the cooler half the movie, but also he's not the star of the movie. It is, I think if anybody, it's Richard Attenborough, but I don't think there is a star.
No,
I think
it's an ensemble piece.
It is a true ensemble piece, which is very rare that you see an ensemble like that. And you have the different connections too. You have James Garner with his buddy Donald Pleasance with his buddy Colin, and they were adorable. And then you have the two guys who are going through the Tunnel Kings, which you find out kind of at the end of the movie. They come into the movie as buddies. You find out at the end of the movie they're like different nationalities and met up with each other in the prison camps that they have been in over the way. So, I mean, I loved the pacing of it. I think it told a little bit of a story all along the way you needed to have it.
Yep.
I thought the motivation for everybody, it set it up very nicely as far as it is the duty of an officer to try to escape so that all of the guards are focused here instead of having to focus on the war itself. I thought that was very interesting. And I thought also that they had, kind of all of these small pieces of this is just guys trying to get out of a prison camp. And then they set up the bigger stage a little bit in that they were talking about kind of the difference between the German soldiers and the SS and the Nazis.
Yep.
And I thought that they didn't do heavy-handed, but they definitely started the conversation of, they set up the German guys as, kind of soldiers. They were just soldiers fighting for their country.
James buddy Werner
Yes.
is like, he's just an average German soldier,
Yes.
and he's set up to be, he's just a person who happens to be, he was forced into it by his country.
Yes.
He's still willingly doing it. He's probably not aware of all the crap that his country's
Nope.
actually doing. So yes, they do a good job of setting up the difference between those
Right.
two.
But then they have the conversation of, the two English soldiers saying, who cares? It doesn't matter. Like, they could
They're
have...
still gonna shoot us.
Well, but also they could have thrown out Hitler. So yes, you're saying that they're just soldiers and they're German soldiers and there's a difference. But at the end of the day, they're all standing up behind the same guy.
Yeah.
So I liked that conversation that was happening, and I think it's very thought-provoking of what is the reality.
So this movie takes a turn for me.
Okay.
In the beginning, as you're getting introduced to all the characters, and they set up very quickly, like they go through multiple escape attempts, and they're always foiled, and Steve McQueen is always getting thrown in the cooler, and it's almost a comedy at that point, with all of these foiled attempts, and they're like, oh yeah, caught me again, okay, blah blah blah, and it kind of maintains that tone for me until they shoot the guy on the wire, and then it's I don't remember the character's name, I'm sorry, but then it switches, and then it becomes a much darker film. The tone, the language. I don't remember if there actually is like a slight lighting shift or not.
I think there is, yeah.
But that moment, the movie just goes into a darker area until everybody's out and escaping, and then it becomes a comedy again to me, where they're all running around trying to figure things out. There's a slight danger of getting caught. Many of them do. Many of them die. But the end to me kind of went back more towards the comedy element of it, and then the movie obviously ended.
Okay, see, I absolutely agree with you. There was an underlying comedy, and especially there are just straight up funny moments. James Garner, I think, is, kind of set up to start a lot of those. And again, he is so charming. But they have the comedy, and then, yes, Ives gets killed, and everything has a new heightened tension to it. I don't see the escape and when they're running around as comedy. I thought that was very tense and action-packed, and still, like, I was very concerned for them.
Steve McQueen running around on the bike, that wasn't comical to you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nope, that wasn't comical to me. I thought that was a great chase scene. So, kind of like a bullet chase scene. So, and that wasn't comedy. So it was like French Connection on a motorcycle to me.
Okay.
So that didn't read as comedic. And then I don't know why I love movies where most of the main characters die. But apparently that's a thing, because a lot of them do die, and again it shows that shift now to the Nazis and the SS, and this is not going to go well.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a tonal shift in the middle. I didn't feel it go up and down again. I thought it stayed down.
I'm basing most of that on the Steve McQueen riding through the countryside.
Yep, fair.
That seemed to me to be a throwback to the more early comical things, because he's almost caught a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And so it's, I guess I'll rephrase. It's not straight up comedy like it was in the beginning, or more comedy. It seemed to call back to those lighter moments in the beginning.
My guess is that's probably the only reason they could get Steve McQueen, is because he
wanted to be on a motorcycle.
and he did most of that.
Yeah.
I think, if not all of it, he did most of it.
Yeah.
So very few stuntmen. I thought there were a couple of problems with it, which was Steve McQueen was supposed to be a college student. He was 36 when he made this movie. He says to somebody he's in college.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
So clearly way too old to be a college student. I am a huge David McCallum fan, so I loved him. He was Wesley Pitt.
Which one was he?
He was Wesley Pitt. He's the guy who was later on in Man from U.N.C.L.E. TV series, and he was on NCIS as Ducky for many years. The blonde, very, very blonde.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Kind of skinny guy.
Did you ever watch Upstairs, Downstairs?
No.
The PBS series?
No.
It was like a 80s.
I know what it is, but I've never seen it. Yeah.
So the English guy, I don't remember his character's name. He had the gray hair, and he was the one when they were drinking the moonshine. He's like, I like it, and was just downing it.
Yeah.
That guy plays the head butler in that show, and I grew up on that show.
Oh, funny. Okay.
So when I saw him, I was like, "Aw,
I know
good, good work, nice."
Exactly, and so all of these characters I thought were interesting and well drawn, and I thought the action just was action packed from start to finish, and there was humor. I am a big person for, even in a dark movie, even in a hard movie, like the last one we talked about was Fighting Sullivan's, a lot of humor. Even though it's a very sad movie. And this one, a lot of action. It's talking about a German Nazi prison camp. A lot of humor. So I still need some humor in my movies.
And part of it also is, I think, from the beginning, is this movie was the reason Hogan's Heroes was made, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of, and I grew up on Hogan's Heroes.
Okay.
So that's also kind of hard to get out of my head when I was going back and watching all those early spoiler attempts. Like, I kept expecting Schultz to come in and start, like, and so it took me just a little bit to be like, no, this is the reason the other thing exists. Go to the source.
And this is based on a true story. So I love that historical fiction too.
I did like and really appreciate the scene where on the 4th of July, the Americans, they make their still, and they go over to the British and invite them over, but they're doing it good-naturedly, basically like
Yeah, down
fuck
the
you.
Britons.
Yeah. I liked how they played off that. The Brits got right into it, down with the colony or whatever they were saying. So
Yeah.
I liked that interplay, that they were able to work together, play with each other
Yeah.
while still recognizing difference. I thought that was well
Because
handled.
they had English, American,
Russian.
Polish, Russian, Australian. I mean, they had the gamut
Yep.
of all of French, I think, Scottish.
Yep.
So yeah, so they had the gamut of all of the international kind of folks that were together, and I just find it an enjoyable popcorn movie that is at a higher level of it has some import and some impact to it.
And I can see why this would make your list as I get to know you, your taste for film more and more. I can absolutely see this one being on your list. So yeah, kudos.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so number 19 for me.
Okay. Any final parting thoughts, or no? You good?
No, I'm good. Oh yeah, I can't get the song out of my head. Once you watch The Great Escape, it will continually be in your head. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so-
Now it's in my head. It was gone,
But
and
help.
now it's there.
nope, it'll be there for days.